we are here on the point of view with the Deputy Chairperson for the Electoral Commission in charge of corporate services, Dr. Bossman Asare, to try and understand some of the reasons behind this two-pronged request. They want a new biometric voter management system, which would necessitate a new voters register. Doc, thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
You held a press conference on 31st December reiterating the point. For how long have you as a commission been planning to do these two things? Is it a new thing or has it been part of the work since you took over?
I think I would say it's been part of the work since we took over. But to be able to get to this point, we had to do a whole lot of things. I think for perhaps introduction, let me put it this way, that when this current commission, headed by Mrs. Jane Mensah, took over in August 2012, when we came, there was a notification of an award up to the tune of $56 million, which had been given to our former vendors to be able to update our biometric voter management system as well as the data center. So when we came, we said no. It was only a notification of an award. So we decided we wanted to investigate further to be sure whether we will be getting value for money. So we did all the analysis and it became very clear that we had to invite the consultant who was engaged by the EC to go when the commission decided to go biometric. So that consultant was invited all the way from Canada. He came to spend 10 days in Ghana. And we asked him several questions. And I remember we asking him, based on the proposal you wrote, which brought in this particular vendor, on your assessment, do you think they've been able to live up to expectation? And his main conclusion was that per the arrangement, they've not been able to do that. Because as part of the contract, they were supposed to work with the Electoral Commission so that within 3-4 years, the Electoral Commission will be fully in charge. In other words, the Electoral Commission will be in charge of the biometric solution, the data center, and everything. So these same people who didn't do the job had written back to us that they wanted to upgrade, they wanted to change certain things. And we also did some market scanning and noticed that some of the prices they were proposing, initially, when they talk of upgrading, but in their scheme of upgrading, what it actually means is that they will buy some new equipment and they will also refurbish the old ones. For example, our biometric verification devices, they said they were going to procure new ones for the Electoral Commission at $917 each. And they were also going to refurbish the ones which were refurbishable at $244. But in our analysis, our market scanning, asking several questions locally and internationally, we got the information that we could even purchase new ones, something less than $400. And we also have the biometric voter registration kits. That one too, they said they will give it to us at $5,200 for each. And these are things you may end up buying one per polling station, etc. And the commission did the scanning and we got to know that we could get it around maybe $3,000 to $3,500. So basically, what this vendor will give, two will be about $10,400. In the open market, we could get about 3 or even and save some money for that. So the commission met and took the decision that in the first instance, this vendor was supposed to do certain things. They didn't do it. And now the same people are now coming back telling you that this time I'm going to do it. And you've also done some scanning and you've realized that the prices they are giving you when you go to the open market, you can also get something better. And even beyond that, when we came, one problem we had at the commission was, the experts call it vendor locking. In other words, anything you needed as a commission, they are the only people who could provide. So we said no. Now let us move forward and get to the point whereby we are going to get items which are off the shelf. So once this item is no longer there, we can just go out there and buy. And no, in the past, Mr. Avle, what they were doing was that they were in charge of the data center, the software, the hardware. The commission said, no, based on this experience, it's better to move in a different direction. And that different direction actually means make sure the hardware is provided by company A, the data center by company B, the software by a different company, and make sure these are items which are off the shelf. Once there is a problem, you can easily replace to avoid vendor locking. So based on this picture, the commission noticed that there are a lot of things that must be done. And just to add, when we also came, a report from the vendor clearly stated that if we are not very careful, the data center will crash before us and we will not be able to do anything. We will lose all our data. So to be frank with you, I think in our conversation we were talking about some church issues, etc. Some of us literally were on our feet, trusting God, trusting the system that in 2018 we'll be able to do the creation of regions. And in this district level elections, I voted in the Amasaman area. When I went there and the machine was able to verify me, as soon as I left, I said, thank God the thing is working. These are problems we are hoping to replace, but we've not had a chance. But this is 2020. And 2020, I don't think you want to take chances with this. So the decision of the commission is to make all
so
these things.
In your press conference, you said that the 87 register was replaced in
the 87 register
was replaced in
95,
and then we had one for 2004, and then subsequently. One of the things we've been told is that the 2012 register is the first biometric register. And so the verification process means that even if you don't create a new register, once you verify that this is the voter, it reduces voter fraud to the extent that you don't need the same interval of 10 years to create a new register. If this is correct, why haven't we then said, let's ensure that this current register works? Because unlike in the past, if I'm dead, there's no way the register will allow me to go through because it's biometric. So the idea that every 10 years we change registers ends with 2012.
Which to a large extent, I share this particular view. But, Mr. Avle, let's look at it from this angle. In 2012, when the commission was going biometric, the commission went into it with limited knowledge, perhaps limited information regarding biometric as a solution to electoral advancement. So some of the things, I will put it bluntly, that maybe we should have done certain things much better than we did with hindsight. Because the point is, those who provided the solution, the way they saved it, the experts will call you, they call it, is it proprietary software. How they saved it, and the source code and everything belongs to them. So basically, it's like they were providing a service, but although the service was for the commission, they were in charge of, and some of you might even heard of their password and everything. All these things were still with them. So the commission for many years had not been in control. I remember there was a time I was somewhere and I received a call from one of our officers that a prominent Ghanaian needed to get the voter's ID card, so he must go through the process. And I had to call the vendor that, we have to do this. And I asked myself, so this common ID card for one person, we will need this vendor to be able to do that. So over the years, the vendor has been doing everything. And you mentioned something about the fingerprint. The experts normally say that when you are talking about biometric identification, the fingerprint, the irises, number one, the fingerprint, number two, followed by the facial. The commission has made it very clear, especially this morning, that we are working, we are doing everything possible. If the fingerprints there, how they have stored them or they have saved them, if they could still be used, what it actually means is that then we'll be in a position to migrate that all the fingerprint details onto a new system. So when it comes to registration, and Mr. Bernard Avle, you come there and you are coming to register, we are not going to take your fingerprints again. What we are going to do is that we already have your fingerprint information. So we are going to take your facial. But
the fingerprint is more unique and it's a more exact science than facial, because facial recognition is new. So if you are saying that hopefully you can still retrieve our fingerprints, doesn't that strengthen the argument of those who say we don't need a new register then? Because you have my fingerprint in your database. So if we don't have a new register, you can still determine if I'm a registered voter or not.
No, Mr. Avle, that's true. But the point is this. Apart from that, the reason why we are introducing the facial also is that we have a problem with manual verification. I don't know how people have seen it, but this is clearly the point. You have a system, you are saying that you are going through electronic or biometric verification. Because once you do a manual process, what it actually means is that if 4 of us are manning the polling station, Mr. Avle, you come around and we are saying that we want you to vote, although your name is not there, we can get you to go through a manual system. So what we are saying is that anytime you are using manual verification, you are compromising the biometric solution. And I've heard the experts saying that the facial can do about 80% for black people. So this is what the commission is saying. We do the fingerprint.
So there's a 20% margin of error. That's very large.
No, and this is the point. If at the end of the day, they just ended district assembly elections, we had about 0.6% going through the manual verification process. So if this number can reduce by, let's say, 0.4.
No, but if 0.6% did manual, it means that the biometric fingerprint is very accurate.
No, and we are not disputing it.
So if just listen, you are saying 5.4 million people verified.
Voted.
Of the 5.4 million people verified, 34,000 were manually verified. That's 0.64%.
6%.
Now, that is not that bad. For you to now say you are using a facial, which is only 80% accurate, it's not even an exact science. So the case for a new system entirely is actually weaker.
I think the facial is not the primary solution. The facial is not the primary solution. The primary is still the fingerprint. So when you look at our press conference, it's been stated that so that those whose fingers cannot be verified by the BVD, they will go through the facial. And we shouldn't forget that in 2008, the winning party had, I think, about 50,000 or so. And if you go into an election where you expect about 12 million people to vote, and at the end of the day, 0.6% are going through biometric manual verification, you are looking at almost 70,000 people going through. And you know this is a country somebody can win by 50,000 or 60,000. So the thinking of the commission is that let's add another feature. So, and that is not the primary. The intention is that will reduce the manual. But that is not the main reason why we are changing the register. The data center, I think I said it earlier, when we came, the vendor has its report. The vendors, we can talk about the name of the vendor. The vendor has stated clearly that there is a problem, which if you don't address, is going to crash.
But
and the vendor said...
Is the address the new system entirely? Because you've already told us that it's possible to retrieve our fingerprints. So how did you move from address the problem based on what the vendor said to we need an entirely new system, we need a new register? That's a real stretch, right? How did you move away from address these challenges that the vendor is identifying to now you need a new register?
But you know, the whole solution is being changed, and the softwares are not the same. You know, the current data center was based on 2005, 2008 software. And you know, the experts will tell you, now you are going to acquire a new software, which is 2019, 2020. So the compatibility of having everything. So that's why I said it's possible we can even use the fingerprint. So we are waiting for the process to continue to be sure that indeed we can use. If we can use, it makes our work even easier.
Well, that's interesting because in your press statement on 31st, you were quite categorical that you are going to do a new biometric voting registration system with a new fingerprint algorithm. And facial recognition. Mm-hmm. So if you are now telling me that it's possible that we can use and retrieve the old fingerprint, then you've sort of jumped ahead of yourself in that press conference. Because in this particular one, you were quite categorical.
The algorithm and
that the current biometric verification device, this is page 3, is unable to verify a number of voters electronically, resulting in a high number of manual verifications. This compromises integrity of the election. And therefore, we are proposing a new system which you say will replace the kits, replace the device, and also have a new facial recognition system and a new biometric, a new fingerprint algorithm. Mm-hmm. So I'm confused now. You in your press release, you've already decide what you want to do. Yet you are saying that it's possible to still go to the old one.
The experts, we work with experts, and basically what they are saying is that if they can do it and it will be compatible with the current software, you know, we as a commission, we are concerned about the number of queues in our country. Is it possible it can be done seamlessly? So that if you come, we already have some of your information over there. What can be added onto it would then require the facial. Then at the end of the day, the process will be very, very faster. So what we are saying that we are exploring, that's why the commission has not made it categorical that we are going to use all the fingerprints over there. But if that possibility presents itself, then what it actually means is that, and that should also tell you that, Bernard, the commission, we are conversant with the science of biometrics, because once people's fingerprints are taken and it's stored properly, what it actually means is that it could be used for many, many years. So if that possibility is there based on how they were stored and we could use, the commission will not hesitate to do that. But what it actually means is that now the data center we have now is not something we can rely on. I remember recently when we did the exhibition, my colleague, deputy in charge of operation, I asked him, now that the exhibition is over, we just have to print the register. If the system crashes, we have our registers intact. And what the commission is saying is that you don't want to go into a major election year, parliamentary, presidential election, where we are expecting about 12 million or so people to vote, and you are thinking that your system could crash when you know that there are solutions which you must apply.
But your solution you are proposing has not yet been tested. Nobody has been trained. In fact, I'm told that for 2012, it was all over a year of training for EC officials, political party people to train all their people. And even with that, we have challenges with 2012 election, as you saw in the election petition. Now, you have an election in less than a year. You are proposing a system that includes a new BV device, a new BV kit, plus facial recognition. So you are introducing another layer. The population of the voters is more. How are you going to train people in time for us to use a new system? Whereas from 2012 to 2016, all the people in the chain at least know how the system works. So you are increasing what you need to do in a shorter period. So you're going to create more difficulty for yourself.
No, but we are not, because the vendors who compile this register, who help us to compile, their work came to an end in the end of 2018. So since 2019, as a commission, we have been on our own. So these district level elections we did it without the input of the vendors. We were able to put a team of consultants
using the same system.
We were able to put a team together and notice that no, these are the challenges, but at the time we couldn't have bought.
But that defeats your argument then. If you could train people to use the system, why don't you use the system then?
No.
Because you said initially that your main issue was that the vendor had not given you access to the source code and you had to even call. But for this recent election, your people managed to get the expertise to use the same system. That means that going forward, we don't even need a vendor.
No, Ms. Avle, I don't know if you read in this report that the commission was able to put some people together and we paid them about 2 million.
Yes, it's there.
And the devices have not been working properly. So we had to put in some extra to be able to get them to be working.
But it worked.
And these are devices, this district level election, do you know the voter turnout? Do you know the percentage you voted?
But how do you know the voter turnout for the next election?
I think we have the trend.
But the 2016 election voter turnout was less than 60%.
No, let's even assume it was 60%.
And if you're a political scientist, we are even to the result of apathy among the middle class for now. So if you're able to run a district level election,
that had a voter turnout of about 34%.
Fine, but your 2016 election turnout was not above 60%.
No, I think it should be more than check.
Well, even if it was, the point is, you managed to run the election using the same system. So
that's 2016.
No, but you ran 2019 district level elections using the same system.
Using the same system.
And so that would be at least the fourth, because you used the system in 2012, used it in the midterm district level election, used it in 2016, you've used it in 2019. So you are expert in the system. And now you're going to start a new system?
No, the truth is this, Ms. Avle. You have a device you are using, and your experts and those who are operating with it are putting pressure on you to change it. But we had an election in front of us, and it wasn't possible we could change at the time. So we had to put in a lot of effort to be able to get them to work. And the people, you ask some of the people who we even engage as officials who were working on the day of voting, they will tell you that these EC machines are flying coffin machines. And we know. The previous vendor stated that we brought in external consultant, local, all of them agreed that no, something must be done. And we are saying that we don't want to carry that same risk going into the system. And just to even add to that, now we have advanced, we've gotten a lot of understanding when it comes to biometric solution. So we have a team of experts around, and their job is to train others to be able to use the system. So as far as the commission is concerned, whoever we engage to provide us the hardware, your job is basically come and teach us how to do it. And once you finish teaching us, you are done. We have what we call training for those who are going to train. So as far as our timeline is concerned, we know we have enough time to be able to train people to go out there and do a correct job for us.
One of the challenges the EC faces is lack of resources. So in your statement, you've always been talking about saving money. One of our long-term problems in the country is multiple identification systems. NHIS, SNIT, NIA, EC, and of course, Statistical Service. Now, we have a census in March. You're a political scientist. You know that when you have a census, that's the overall population. Every other thing can derive from the census. So the reasonable thing to do for efficiency would be to wait for the census to be done, get the population, and then whatever NIA or EC does, we know that is the population. If you are going to wait for census to finish before you start, it means March is gone. Even if you do census in March, results don't come until a few months later.
I think so, it takes a while.
So people are saying that, why don't you wait for the census to finish? Let the NIA finish what they are doing. You have two data sets. When you do a new register post-2020, you have a basis to even do triangulation. And you're a political scientist. This makes sense. Yeah. Why the haste to do a new register now when we are doing NIA, we haven't finished?
We're doing census.
We are doing census. Why?
No, Mr. Avle, I think that's an important question. The EC has had a lot of engagement with NIA. Initially, the EC got the impression, or the EC was told that the NIA should be able to finish registering Ghanaians by December 2019. So when the EC even got that information, we said, oh, that will even make our job easier. So it's just a matter of identifying individuals and putting them in certain specific polling stations. I think in the beginning of December, we had a meeting with the NIA, and they told us at the time that they had registered about 4.5 million Ghanaians. I think this morning I heard so far they've done about 6.2 or so. The EC, we are looking at a registrable population of about 15 to 17 million, even more, because now the register has about 16.8, and there are many people who have turned 18 who are yet to be put onto the register. So on that score, the EC, we did what we had to do, but the information we got was that no. And don't forget that the NIA's activity is not time-bound as the EC's activities are. The EC is supposed to deliver elections on December 7th. And if we are supposed to deliver elections on December 7th, I don't think you are going to wait for an institution that told you that in 2019 December we'll be finishing, but still did not even get to about maybe 30% or 40%. So the EC met and we took a decision that we couldn't depend on the NIA work. And regarding the census, you know, when they do the census, it takes a while before the report comes. And what the Electoral Commission is saying is that we have a system that if we are not very careful, the system will crash. The Electoral Commission is saying that we have devices that clearly they are not good, but we have been hanging on to them for a very long time. And you are going into major elections, parliamentary election, which is a general election, and the presidential. You are going to elect all these parliamentarians and a president for the republic. So if you have this problem, these challenges you are facing, and Bernard, let's be very clear. In case the EC doesn't act, and our data center crashes, and we have a problem with the register, who do you think point of view Citi FM, Citi TV will be blaming? It's the EC. So the EC must be very proactive and look at the information before us and act properly to be able to safeguard the integrity of our electoral process.
So you are making an efficiency argument. You are saying the time. Sorry, you're talking about the cost. You're talking about the reliability of the data you have. But the EC doesn't exist in isolation. Clearly, there's division among the stakeholders as to whether this is the right way to go. A group is opposing this completely. Another group supports this.
Completely.
Yes. Now you are in the middle of this. Do you not think that to be perceived to be fair, you need to assume some sort of middle ground? Because one group says no, one group says yes. Now, if you also say yes, that means that you are on one side in terms of your view on this. How are you going to resolve that? Is there no room for, is there no middle ground?
No, I think the EC started the yes argument, let me put it that way, and we had some others who came along the yes line. I think in the thinking of the commission, what is very clear is that we have to do the right thing. There are certain things you may do, the public may not like it, but you are in charge, you are facing the music, you understand what the experts are saying there, and you have been told A, B, C, and D. And as far as the EC is concerned, our doors are open. We will still engage the parties. Very soon we'll be having an IPAC meeting to call on the parties for us to look at the modalities, how we are going to do it. Because, Mr. Avle, when you look at those who are saying no, you've been hearing, oh, the EC wants to manipulate this and that. We all know that in this country, if we are doing registration, the political parties are going to send their agents over there. And as part of the process, every day, every voting registration center, we are supposed to give the input, the details to the political parties. So if we register, let's say your place is a center, we register 20 people, that information must be given to the political party. Everything is done in such a way that the process is very, very fair and transparent. So we even wish that all the parties will come on board. If there are certain ways we can do certain things to mitigate the concerns of others,
you have been accused of undermining the IPAC platform, because they're saying that until this administration, the IPAC was the body that discussed these things and used consensus. Now EC has taken a position and wants IPAC to endorse. And for them, that's not the way IPAC used to work. It was a creation that made it easy because we are going to play a football match. So we set the rules ourselves with you being the arbiter. But now you want to play an active role and determine what should happen. And then you say IPAC should come and discuss. That's not the way to go.
No, I think IPAC Inter-Party Advisory Committee, and we have the RIPAC, Regional Inter-Party, the DIPAC, the district. You know, IPAC is not a creation of the Constitution. IPAC is a creation of the Electoral Commission and the political parties, where they come together, iron out differences, look for common grounds to be able to pursue certain agendas. This issue came up last year, and I think you remember there was an IPAC meeting in which the EC said, oh, the registration, we did a limited registration in 2019, and in that meeting we made it very clear that we are having problems with our equipment, so we'll be purchasing new ones, and that item was discussed on the, when you finish the agenda for the meeting, any other matters. And so the following day, we issued a report to the effect that, members agreed that a new register biometric solution, which one of the main parties came out strongly.
What date was that IPAC meeting?
Oh, I think it will be March or April, but it's a public...
And were all the political parties in that meeting?
No, all of them were there. When we said nobody
agreed that there would be a new register.
When we raised that, nobody, like we have a meeting and we have said next week we are going to do this. Nobody objected to it. And in such meetings, but was
it discussed?
No, it wasn't.
Sorry, you have an IPAC meeting. The issue of a new register is supposed to be discussed. Was it even on the agenda for that meeting? New register was there?
That meeting was on the 2019 limited registration.
Exactly.
So we did the explanation, but you
can't make a decision on a major issue like that when it hasn't been properly tabled. No, but the fact that you are discussing limited registration and then you say that, well, based on what we've discussed, it means that we have a new register. There's no record that it was properly discussed.
No, it came up. AOB is on the agenda, or is it
AOB?
So
what did the NDC say in that
meeting?
No,
that meeting, the NDC didn't comment on it. The NPP didn't comment on it. The parties...
Nobody commented?
Nobody commented on it. Then we had...
then how does that then become an agreement? If nobody commented...
I didn't say that was the agreement. Then we had a meeting again this end of November, December, in which we met them for an emergency IPAC meeting. And we explained to them why we think that A, B, C, and D must be done.
And what did they say?
And when we had the meeting, some of the parties were supportive, some of the parties were opposing. Then we had another meeting again, and in that meeting we ended up leaving. Some of the parties said, oh, we fully support what the EC is doing. Some also said, no, we don't support what the EC was doing. And we had another day for the demonstration of the hardwares. We invited 4 companies. They went through pre-qualification, international competitive tendering process. We invited several companies were invited for the pre-qualification. After that, we screened and we invited 4 of them to come and demonstrate their hardware. And when you look at the new hardwares in the system and what we are using now, you can clearly see that we have to make some steps. And when we went there, all the parties were there. It was when the program had started, then later on the NDC said they requested for some documents and that they hadn't gotten those documents, so they were leaving the event.
They felt you were stampeding them into a process. I'm not using the same.
No, we wrote to them that we were doing demonstration. It was written to them.
They said the understanding they had about that meeting was not what was happening in the meeting. That's why they walked out.
No, we wrote to them. IPAC meetings are held at...
But a demonstration does not mean that you've agreed to do something. Their view is that you've already taken a decision. So you are just bringing them to come and endorse the decision.
No, if we had already taken the decision, why would we engage them? We told them at the IPAC level.
You are doing it after the fact.
No, not after the fact. Because when we started
did they have a say in who will be chosen?
Yes. No, the demonstration will show and we gave
but if they haven't agreed that we need a new system, why would they endorse? If you haven't agreed that you need a new system, why would I come and sit and watch somebody? We haven't discussed whether I need a new system or not. Then you are saying I'm bringing 4 people to come and show you.
That had been discussed earlier at the IPAC.
Yeah, but they don't perceive that you have agreed. That's why they walk out of that. My point is that if you have brought me to a meeting and then you are saying these are 4 people who are going to propose a solution, and I'm saying we don't even think we need that solution. So sitting in that meeting to endorse, to assess the possibilities is wrong ab initio.
Mr. Avle, the party, we have 25 parties on our roll.
How many of them have filed their tax returns?
No, in terms of, I need to check.
How many of them are viable parties by your own law? How many of them even exist in 2/3 of the country?
As we speak now, all the 26 political parties are registered political parties in our system.
But practically speaking, looking at the share of voters over since the Fourth Republic, all the parties don't carry the same weight.
No, so the 2 parties are dominant. And in the last election, you saw what they got. But we have
so if you say you have 26 political parties...
No, IPAC doesn't work because we have a main party.
I'm not saying that. But we are just saying
very practical.
Practically speaking, you know that there are 2 leading political parties in the country. And if you look at the fault lines for this issue, it's very clear it's along those two lines. So even if you have 13 saying I support and 7 or 8 saying I'm against, it's neither here nor there. So my real question is, how does this Electoral Commission intend for Ghanaians to believe that you are objectively neutral? Because there's the impression the NDC is creating is that you are bent on favoring one side, and you're not listening to reason.
Okay, which I understand. As you said, it's not because 13 parties are for, 7 parties are against. We at the Electoral Commission, that's not even, we don't even care about the thinking of the political parties. What we strongly believe is that nothing should trump credible elections. Nothing should trump transparency, fairness in our electoral process. And the thinking of the Commission is that if you have a problem which is imminent, are we going to wait for all the parties to say yes or for all the parties to say no? Well, we recognize strongly that if there is a problem with our data center, if there is a problem with our register, it's not the parties who are going to be blamed. It's the Electoral Commission. So the fact that some parties are for or against is not so much our concern as to we doing the right thing.
Don't you risk solving one problem by creating another? No. If there is a problem with the system that you want to correct, that's fine. But the method you are using is going to generate more division and suspicion. No. You've solved one problem of technical issue by creating another of perception issue. So is that the best solution?
No, we think the perception that the Electoral Commission will be, that perception is not real. Because the reason is that I painted a picture to you if we are doing the registration, how it is going to be. And you are an objective, well-known senior journalist in the system. Look at the processes we do in registering. And just look at it. And recently, I think we even made the point that if there are people who know how the Electoral Commission could be biased, could do A, B, C, and D against a particular party, they should let us know. Because we understand the sacredness of the position we occupy. And you look at it critically, looking at registering the people, having a credible system, we are so bewildered to the extent that how will that favor one party and disadvantage another party? And that's the thinking we do. So when we hear this perception that you want to favor party A, party B, then we are surprised. And let's go back. All the time the Electoral Commission conducted this registration exercise, can somebody clearly say some parties were favored or some parties were not favored? But when you look at on the face of it and how things are done, it's not possible. The Electoral Commission.
It's not about favoring. It's about the system you want to put in place. Whether everybody agrees that that system is the best system, that's number one. Whether this is the best time to have that system, number two. and whether all of us will be ready to train our different people to make sure that the system works well. Because the system doesn't work on its own.
You need people.
Yes. So the time frame you have, the concern is that the parties may not be ready. So let's use what we've tried and tested. Even though it has flaws, we all know how the system works. It's run 2 major elections for us, and the country is still together. But creating a new one now, within the limited time frame we have, may not be the best.
So, Ms. Avle, in the first instance, you mentioned whether the system is the best and whether all the parties accept. The point is that I think when you are doing the right thing and even some parties don't accept, I think when you go ahead and do it, they will look back and realize that the Electoral Commission did the right thing. And secondly, in terms of the timing, Ms. Avle, we shouldn't forget that in 2004, it was an election year. The Electoral Commission was able to compile a voters register. In 2012, when we even began the biometric process, it was an election year. We were able to do it. And this is the time the Electoral Commission has done it for a while. So this commission is not only saying that we think we should do this based on the weight of the scientific evidence available. We think the commission has done it in the past. So now we are well able, we are actively involved, and we are having regular meetings with our IT team, our consultants, to be sure, asking them all the tough questions so that we can deliver. So we strongly believe that looking at our past record, we have what it takes. And this new registration I just mentioned, if even we are not able to use the old fingerprints and we are doing a new thing altogether, I promise you that within 50 days, the Electoral Commission will register all the registrable
with all
population.
the problems the NIA is facing.
No, the
yours
NIA
is different.
Yours is
no
different.
Problem.
Yeah.
Just finally, based on all that has happened, the demonstrations in Tamale, another demonstration in Kumasi possibly, is there space for other engagements to consider this again, either through the Peace Council or the IPAC mechanism or Council of State, or based on the timetable you have with 2020 election? There may not be time. Just let me have a sense. Is the EC available and willing to have other meetings with the main stakeholders to reconsider this? Oh,
no, I would say the EC is available. We were on break and we came back on January 9th or so. The EC is available. If we receive letters from any quarters, we are ready to meet them. Don't forget, this thing we are doing in the interest of our country. We want to have the best of systems when it comes to this biometric solution. So if the parties, they invite us that we want to have a meeting with you, religious leaders, civil society, we are readily available. The media, we are readily available. Because we think that we want all the parties to be on board. So we expect that this demonstration, we know is their political, civil right to do that. But we'll be happy they will invite us. So we want to engage you further on this thing we are doing. Because when you look at it critically and you put the weight of the evidence in the public domain, it's clear that the EC has a very clean act. Those who are leading the EC, the thinking is that let's do the right thing. We are facing a problem. We know the challenges we've been going through with the system we are having. And when even you look at it in terms of cost, the former company was given a new data center at $15 million. Now, through our management skills, etc., we are getting a new one at $6 million. So when you look at it, clearly the Commission has an intention of protecting the public purse, and we want to do the right thing for country and for God.
Thank you so much. Dr. Bossman Asare is the Deputy Chairperson of the Electoral Commission in charge of corporate services, making arguments for a new biometric voting system and a new register as a consequence. Stay with us.